Today is a sad day in content creator history. Watching the slow death of one of the most beloved content creators of all time, Idubbz, is truly horrifying. For every video he puts out, for every piece of content he releases, Ian just seems to not be able to pull himself out of this death spiral. As I'm sure you all may have heard, Ian has put out a new video talking about how Creator Clash 2 lost $250,000 for a charity event. So let's check this thing out. Let's see what's going on. First of all, only 12,000 dislikes. Very surprised by that. I thought this video would have gotten a lot more, but maybe that's just me. But let's see what he has to say.
Hello everyone. I have some bad news to share with you. For Creator Clash 2, we lost $250,000 on the event. The way that this typically works, once our expenses are paid off for the event, like all the minimums of broadcasting, the hotel, travel, then we can start paying the charities. I foolishly thought that the success of last year should be a minimum. A minimum for what we are able to do this year.
I think that might be a fair assumption, but here's the thing. A lot of times with live events like these or streamed events like these, let's say, generally your first one, there's going to be a lot of interests that you not necessarily are going to convert into long-term fans, right? Like there's a lot of people that are going to watch the first event out of some sort of like morbid curiosity that just kind of want to see what's going on, what it's like.
But we did half as well as we did the first year. 50,000 compared to 100,000 the first year.
50% is a lot. That's a pretty substantial drop off. You can't just rest on the laurels of, oh, the event was successful last time, so this one's automatically going to be more. Because the event inherently is a novelty. So there is going to be, like I mentioned, there's going to be like this novelty that wears off for casual viewers.
But we didn't have any anti-piracy measures. We weren't prepared to deal with what ended up happening. This should just be like the first year. I don't want it to be more complicated than the first year. It ended up being a lot more complicated.
Yeah, that was a huge mistake. Anti-piracy measures, it's like an unfortunate reality that those have to be a thing. Your other option, of course, would be to give it away for free and then find other ways to monetize it. You can do that through basic streamer stuff, through donations and super chats, things like that.
Amongst the 800 pirated streaming sites, there were between 1.3 and 3 million viewers. So even though there were around 50,000 pay-per-view buys, there were around 1.3 to 3 million viewers, people who actually watched the full broadcast.
That I'm not sure about. I don't know. Listen, yes, there is a way to track these sort of statistics through companies doing analytics or whatever, but to say, like, the idea that there's between 1.3 and 3 million viewers, that is a huge gap. That seems a little sus to me, Idubbz. I believe he believes that, but I believe what he was told is a lie.
I think we also had a big streamer audience. That's who we are appealing to when they get it all for free generally. So I think it was in a lot of ways bad to appeal to that crowd and not give away the stream for free.
Again, I'd actually agree with that notion. I think the idea of, because the idea that you were going to convert like a sizable percentage of those potential 3 million viewers, I think that's kind of a pipe dream.
Aside from the pirating, we did have higher expenses this year. It was a bigger arena. We went to the Amalie Arena, so it was twice as big.
That seems, I don't know, that seems a little sus to me. So they did go to the Amalie Arena, which has a capacity of 21,000 for concerts. So I mean, let's say 20,000. That's a huge arena to try and sell out. I mean, looking in the crowd though, like it seemed fairly packed in the arena. So, I mean, clearly they did sell a lot of those 20,000 seats. So that's odd to me that you weren't able to convert that into money. I don't know what the prices of concessions were. I don't know what the prices of the merch was. My suspicion is that he tried to price things as cheaply as possible to make it like affordable for fans. But what ultimately ended up happening is that he owes $250,000 now.
So we bought out a hotel to make sure all the creators had a safe place that they can stay. If we didn't book the creator hotel when we did, I don't think we would have had nearly as many creators show up to show support. And our pay-per-view numbers actually could have been hurt by that.
What does he mean by creator hotel? Because if you got a hotel for, let's say, the performers and the talent in the event, that makes sense to me. And I wouldn't expect them to pay for those things. But on the other hand, if he means that he also, you know, booked out the hotel so we could also have rooms for just creators who were showing up, that seems like a lot of wasted money. I would hope, again, he doesn't really mention whether or not they paid for them, but I would hope that he then charged these creators for their rooms, because on a charity event that's not really based around making money, that seems like a huge expense.
We also had events the day before the fight and the day after the fight, so that, you know, fighters and friends and family could come together and process their trauma. Sort of paramount for me, because the first year we did the fight and then I went to bed and then I woke up, the hotel was empty, and then I got on a flight and traveled 5 hours with my face completely swollen. That was cool. That was so worth it.
Yeah, welcome to the fight game, man. That's kind of what it is. You booked events and an extra hotel day for everyone because you wanted to work through your trauma? Are you kidding me, Idubbz? The fight game's a brutal game, but I mean, if you're not built for it, then you shouldn't be competing in it, which might be why he lost both of his fights. So the idea that you have to book an entire extra day with events, whatever that means, because you can't handle losing a fight, that's crazy. Especially when the money is supposed to go to charity. Try and ask Nate Diaz if he needs to work through his trauma after a loss.
There was nothing. There was no processing my trauma. There was no talking to anyone and relating about the experience afterward. Everyone was gone. Yeah, some of these things that might seem extraneous, in my opinion, were entirely necessary, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Even if it meant you gave money to charity, your whole goal and mission of this freaking event.
You know, because each fighter gets a $20,000 stipend. And for anyone like confused about this or thought everyone was fighting for free, they pretty much are fighting for free. I would say that $20,000 is on the low end of what it should cost you to train in those 9 months.
And this is where I disagree once again. So here's the thing. Low-end amateur boxers are not paid anywhere near that much for a singular fight. Maybe on paper it makes sense because they have to train 9 months for the one fight, but like a fight camp shouldn't take that long. This is like an inherent problem with these amateur boxing fights where people are doing one fight. They need more training and lead up time because they don't know what they're doing. So if you see here, for an early professional fighter, not even an amateur, an early professional fighter, average per fight, they're getting $950 to $3,500, averaging around $22,000 per year because, again, they're having multiple fights. So giving everyone a $20,000 stipend for a charity event, no less. That is a surplus that could have easily been avoided. I understand what Ian's trying to do here. He's trying to do the right thing and be moral about it and trying to be as fair as possible to the fighters. But again, ultimately, this is a charity event. Yes, it is about the fighters, but on another level, this is supposed to be for a bigger thing. It's supposed to be for a common goal where everyone comes together and does something, a net positive for the world.
I think other boxing promotions would like disagree that, you know, fighters should be getting paid this amount, but, you know, to each their own.
Yeah, at least the other ones make money.
What do I know? We lost $250,000 on this event. What I absolutely don't need is people spreading rumors about us pocketing money.
That's a fair point. I don't see Ian pocketing money from a charity event. So that was his video. There are a couple little other things that I don't feel like he touched on in there. One of which being, which I've seen a lot of this, a lot of people just didn't know the event was happening. There seemed to be very little to no advertisement for Creator Clash 2 at all. He says it earlier in the video that he was kind of resting on the laurels of the success of the first event to try and to essentially just word of mouth get the word out there about Creator Clash 2. I think that was a critical misstep on his part because I didn't even really know it was happening outside of the Froggy Fresh situation. That's the only reason I even knew this was happening. I think the whole Froggy Fresh situation and the way Idubbz handled it turned a lot of people off. It was trending for days on Twitter that I'm canceling my pay-per-view buy to this charity event. But in retrospect now, like when that whole situation was going down, Gideon offered $100,000 to get Froggy Fresh back on the card. Sam Hyde, which I understand why he wouldn't want Sam Hyde on the card, but Sam Hyde, I think he offered I think it was $100,000 and his Porsche, which was worth like $100,000 to fight someone on the card. I don't remember. I think it was Dad. Idubbz ended up turning both of them down. Which was a critical mistake, apparently. Anyways, that's it.